Welcome back to the Titanium Hangar. This is Mike. Happy Friday, everybody. Hope everybody is doing well this weekend. Today I want to talk to you about Masterpiece Transformers that are second best. Now, these are ones that may have been the best for a long time, 6, 7, 8 years. And then a company like maybe X-Transbots or Fans Toys or even Takara puts a figure out and tops the previous version. But there's nothing wrong with second best because these create good buying opportunities if you want to get a decent figure for a decent price on the secondary market. Gives you some ideas of what to look for. We're going to get into this and more coming up. So before we get into today's topic, of course, I do want to ask a little homework for you guys. But what is your favorite clear Masterpiece Transformer figure? I have never bought a clear one, but to make a video about it, I would need some more input. So put it in the comments below. It'll be fun. Maybe next week we'll have that video come out. And of course, as always, I want to know what your top 5 or so second best figures are also. All right, so we're going to get into the first one on my list here, and that is Bad Cube Grump. Second best, just today, technically today for me, but tomorrow, lost the number 1 slot as the best gears in the Masterpiece realm because I got the Fans Toys one and I like the Fans Toys one better. But that doesn't make this a bad figure, and I'm going to keep mine in alt mode. And I think it actually does look more like cartoon in alt mode. We kind of reviewed that in the review yesterday. But I see that it's getting a little bit cheaper. It's cheaper because it had a reissue recently. It's been reissued 3 times since Bad Cube put it out. And that it's not a bad figure at all. And as a second best, it's still a good option. If it's your only one on the shelf, if you don't want to spend $100, you could track one of these down for maybe 50 or 60, then do it. Some of the retailers might still have it in stock. It might still be in stock. I didn't even check Show Z. It might be in stock at Show Z. But you might be able to find it at retail. You might even be able to find it at retail on sale. Bad Cube Grump. So the next second best is the DX9 Mitron. Now, I kind of go back and forth between Mitron and Apollyon. I'll show Apollyon in just a minute, but I do think that from the waist up that Mitron wins. It is cleaner. There's less kibble. Even the legs have less kibble. The only downside to this one is I kind of think the front of the lower legs look kind of goofy. If they could have fixed that where it had the right curvature to it and it didn't look like he was wearing bell bottoms with small feet, then this would have been a knockout hit. There was just a small area in the lower legs. They did release some sort of a, maybe it was an aftermarket upgrade kit that it made it look better, but it added another half an inch to the front of the leg. So that even made one part worse to make one part better. But overall, I think this is the second best, right behind the good old Takara one. But the problem is that tracking this down, you can get one for like $80, but you can still possibly find a Takara KO at a retailer for like $60. Now, the reason I say Apollyon still looks good, because he still looks good. But the inside of his lower legs are super ultra kibbly. But if you look at the front of his lower leg, that looks pretty good, if that's how you go with it. But there's still that rumor out there. X-Transbots is making a 2.0 version of this. And if they do a 2.0, that's them basically admitting they didn't feel like the first one was good enough. And you know how I feel. If they make a 2.0, they're admitting failure. Now, if you watch my channel, you know that I like X-Transbots. I don't say that every one of the releases is the best that's out there. And I'll say the same thing with this one. This one is their Elagos. Now, I'm not sure. This might be the recolor because it does look slightly different coloration than the one I have on my shelf. But it's a solid Cyclonus. This Elagos is a good Cyclonus. But it is, in my opinion, the second best Cyclonus out there. It might be the only other Masterpiece Cyclonus out there also. I mean, there's that too. If it's the only other one, then the other one that's better would be first, this would be second. But the cool thing about this, though, is if you do have the Fans Toys one and you like it better, but you want another one to be the Armada, then it's a little different. You don't have a whole bunch of clones of the same exact one. They look slightly different. I kind of like that. I also feel the same way about Seekers. Like if you got a set of Seekers that are from one company, say Deformation Space, then you have Takara for Coneheads or Make Toys for Coneheads or something along those lines. That makes it for a more interesting display, in my opinion. But with that, the second best, you can get it cheaper than a Fans Toys one. I see these sell for about $70, and that's not bad considering the MSRP was $160. X-Transbots Elagos. Next up, we've got Takara's Masterpiece Ultra Magnus, and there's a lot to say about this. First of all, I felt it was a little bit bulky when it first came out, but I thought it looked good. Like, it looks nice and clean, it looks good, but it does look a little bulky. He does have a butt flap. The Toy House Factory KO got rid of the butt flap. But this one's second best behind X-Transbots. I think X-Transbots absolutely blows this away. The only problem with X-Transbots is the transformation is quite involved. But it's not the end of the world. It's not the worst transformation I've ever seen. It's definitely not the worst X-Transbots transformation. This transformation is a little simpler, more simplified, a little easier, less chance that you'd break something on it. But I do think the X-Transbots looks better, mostly in the bot mode. I think they're very similar comparability in the alt mode. But I care more about bot mode, and with that, you could probably get this for around the same price as the Commander class, which blows my mind. People are so excited about the Commander class one. This one still looks way better, but it is so big that it won't scale with your regular Hasbro mainline stuff. But in my mind, if you were spending about the same money, I would much rather have this figure. Takara does great work, but I wouldn't classify every one of the releases as the #1 best option that's out there. I think Fans Toys beats it with their Hoodlum, but I never liked the proportions on this. From the minute that I first saw the first reveal picture back in the day, 7-8 years ago, I don't remember how long it's been, I did not like this. The upper body is big and bulky. His chest is a rectangle. It doesn't look right. It's just blows my mind Takara let this thing go through. Well, I'll tell you what really blows my mind here in a minute. But overall, I just don't like the way it looks. I don't like the proportions. The alt mode does look a little bit better, but yeah, this is what really blows my mind, is that they actually put out another one. So the original one was the MP28. This is the MP40, and it's a slight different recolor. Plus, you got the Target Master with it, and this one's never been knocked off. So if you look at Takara stuff, all of it gets knocked off. But then if they do a plus, or if they do one that has special stuff on it, it never gets knocked off. Again, this is me and my KO theory. It's just a KO theory that Takara has full control of the KO market. Or at least some control. Because this never been knocked off, and neither has any of the pluses. That doesn't change the fact that I think the design of it is poor. It is a second place, second rate hot rod. So I've shown Fans Toys a lot of love in this video, in the first half of this video, and I don't hate Willis, but I do think Willis aesthetically is inferior to what Takara put out. And I think that this is a second place one. And I actually, for a while, saw people selling them for pretty cheap when the Takara one came out. But I looked them up recently, and I guess time heals all wounds, and the prices creep back up on this. People are trying to get like $200 out of this guy again. So that's one figure that I feel is a second best, but he's not going to be one that you can get a good deal on. You might still be able to get a good deal on the original Takara, which I think is superior design and aesthetically, not build-wise, but I do think that one wins. I have the KO of the Takara one, and I do feel like it's pretty solid. It didn't break, nothing broke on it. It's pretty awesome. But this one here, though, Fans Toys purists will defend it till the day, as long as the day is long, well, forever. All right, so the next one that I want to recommend is the Final Victory Brawn, and that is a pretty good looking figure. Now, maybe it's not the greatest painted, it's not the best paint, and I don't like the color of the head, but it was a pretty solid figure overall, and a very good contender. Now, I did sell in a 3-pack. I think you still probably have to buy it in a 3-pack. I don't know anybody breaking them up and selling them separately. But it was a good figure. For the time, it was the best. I liked it better than Bad Cube's Brawny. And I actually had Bad Cube's Brawny on this one till I remembered, oh yeah, this one is better. And I have this one in my alt mode, and I like it. So with that, I would recommend, if you don't want to spend the crazy money on the Fans Toys version, to get this one. But right now, they reissued the Fans Toys version, so if you have the ability to grab one of the Fans Toys ones right now, I'd get the Fans Toys Brawn. And the next one is the Transformers Element Phantom. This is their take on Mirage, and this was a close one here. I have to admit, when the Fans Toys one came out, I thought it looked good, but side by side, this one and Fans Toys only etched it out by a small margin. So it's only a little bit less accurate, in my opinion, than the Fans Toys. The Fans Toys still won, but barely. But I do have to admit, though, this, for the price, for $56, it was a really good deal. I think it first came out like 53, then the second one was 56, or something along those lines. But I also want to say that I feel like I've talked about this figure a lot for the price and the value and all that. But the second place Masterpiece figures, like a list like this is going to look completely different in about a year and a half. With all of the figures that are coming out from Fans Toys X Transbots and all the other companies, I think this list will be drastically different. And what I think is the top of the second place list might change. But for now, this guy, it's actually a really good figure. Okay, next up we have the DX9 Hanzo. They did make a blue, like a teal one, and then we made this green one. But I have to say that it's not a bad figure. It's a pretty good figure. But when the Fans Toys came out with their Hydra, then I really felt like that one was the best one. But it's funny too, because a lot of people online were saying Hanzo is better than Hydra. A lot of people said that. And it's funny too, because I picked them up around the same time, and I had them for a while, both for a while, but I realized I didn't need a second 6-shot, even though there's 6 different modes you can have in 7 technically. So I got rid of my extra one, but I would recommend the Hanzo if you don't want to pay the crazy prices for Fans Toys Hydra, and it does look great, and I'm sure it looks good in all modes and all that. So with that, I still feel Fans Toys wins, but Fans Toys has that slight, like, is a knee or hip problem, but it never affected mine, but it affected some people's. This one is pretty solid, stands on its own really well. DX9's Hanzo. So then we get into DX9's Sunstreaker. DX9's, call it Sun Surge. And this one was the reigning king for the longest time. And I was only sort of impressed with it. But I remember when this figure was fetching super big money. Well, at the time, like $150, $160 on the secondary market. But when Takara came out with theirs, it just really stopped this one dead in the tracks. It was never a bad looking figure. I just felt like it could have been improved a little bit, looked a little bit better, and I think that's what Takara delivered on. But if you want to pick one of these up for like $60 or $70, you can get them. I think they're doing a reissue. I see a reissue on Show Z, but if you want to get them for $60, $70, it's not a bad option at all. It looks pretty good. Just I still feel like Takara's is a little bit better. Probably 15% better, if I want to put a number to it. Now, I was thinking about some of these that don't really qualify. Because if you're saying, is Fans Toys the best? Is Takara second best? Is DACA Toys Chronos not even considered an option anymore? Which I don't really think it is that much of an option anymore. So we have these two guys going for different things. Takara and Fans Toys are going for different looks, different aesthetics. There's not a number one, number two here. They're both number one. One's for Toon, one's for sort of reworld, reimagining, stylized. Because Fans Toys is pretty stylized, to tell you the truth. And they both win, and what they're going for. And if you want to say DACA's number two, is DACA number two? Okay. And lastly, this is one that I was going to put in as a number 5 on my list, but I left it off and leaving it for the end. And this is the Fans Toys Apache, because I think people argue back and forth about whether or not Apache's better than the X Transbots. I do think that they both have their strengths, they both have their weaknesses, and after 6 or 8 months, maybe even a year, I don't know how long it's been since X Transbots came out, I think they're a tie because they each do something different better. And with that, I'm going to give them a tie. But the Fans Toys one is in stock at retailers, and I'm constantly getting emails that one's on sale for something like $120 or something. Way cheaper than the original price they were asking. And that doesn't really surprise me that much, but on the other hand, it kind of does. they reissued it just to sort of steal the thunder away from X-Transbots, and I kind of think that backfired on Fans Toys. But with that, which one do you like better? Well, I hope everybody found this list a little bit helpful. If it wasn't helpful and this is not what you're looking for, hopefully you found it amusing. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like and subscribe. I'll be making a video about the Clear figures coming up pretty soon, and I'd like to, probably in a month, do a viewer-voted second place video. Jeremy Hanger out.